There's just been a letter from the chairman, Chris Roberts, about the future of Star Citizen. It kind of looks like all the server meshing and player capacity tests over the last few weeks have stirred up some pretty big statements about the future of the game. Let's take a look. First off, thanks very much for watching this one, and not, I'm sure, all the clickbait videos that are going to come out about Star Citizen release date revealed, because that's not what's in here at all. There's some plans, and if you hang around a bit, they do talk about what they deem to be an incredibly powerful and unprecedented in-game upgrade. So for what that's about, stick around. Now, for a little bit of context, letters from the chairman used to happen pretty regularly. We used to get them every time a stretch goal or some other milestone was hit, but nowadays it seems like we get one at the beginning of the year, and between that and CitizenCon, it seems to be the only time we hear anything from Chris Roberts nowadays. This one starts off very much like one that is sent at the beginning of every year. This is what happened last year, this is what's going on this year, but this one seems a little different. Standard kind of out of context, overly bold quote at the beginning, but to break down the first part, if you're not a fan of reading all this text, basically Chris breaks down the year into four major milestones. First off, he talks about the introduction of persistent entity streaming. Now, he does acknowledge that 3.18 was a bit of a dumpster fire. He doesn't use those words, but you get the point. He says, the launch of Alpha 3.18 was far more challenging than we anticipated, and we discovered some issues with our back-end database that were only visible at the scale we see on a live release as opposed to the persistent test universe. Outside of this, we uncovered a lot of little issues that come from a truly persistent universe. So he definitely doesn't say car crash, but at least he doesn't gloss over it too much. Further on, he also talks about CitizenCon and everything that brought, and that kind of links to the third bit that they said, which was that Star Citizen's single player, Squadron 42, is feature complete, and that this year they'll be looking to take it to content complete. Interestingly, he says, I am incredibly excited about how the game is shaping up, and we will have more to share with you at this year's CitizenCon, which will be held in Manchester, England. By the way, complete aside, I will be there, other members of the DGP community will be there, so if you're going, let us know in the comments, and, if you join the Discord using the link in the description, we're going to get a thread up about meeting where everyone's staying, so if you fancy coming along, having a beer and meeting a few people in a very chill environment, we'd be more than happy to have you. The last thing they talk about is the acquisition of Turbulent, and that gets through basically all of what they said. For those that aren't quite sure, I don't want to make the video about this so much, but they acquired Turbulent, one of the Montreal studios that have been helping them for basically as long as Star Citizen's been going, and they talk about bringing those people on board. It is now very, very unfortunately confirmed, and this breaks my heart a little, that Todd Pappy has moved on. This is really, really sad for me because I met him at CitizenCon 2019 and he left an incredibly good impression with myself when I got to talk to him. He was incredibly patient and he wanted to listen and he genuinely wanted to know what it was I had to say. They say this about this. As part of this reorganization, we sadly waved goodbye to the Persistent Universe Live Director, Todd Pappy, as he had moved back to the US from the UK last year for family reasons. After much soul-searching, I determined that we cannot afford to have this role remote from the main team in Manchester for a good portion of the year. It is a sad moment, as Todd worked diligently for the last 9 years on Star Citizen, making many important contributions. And I second that. I've always found when Todd's spoken about it, I've left feeling more enthused. So, yeah, I'm just hoping that he lands on his feet and that he has a good one. So what are the other highlights then from the letter? Well, this from Benoit Beausejour, the new CTO. In the coming weeks and months, get ready for more technical preview tests with various mesh configurations. multiple game servers per solar system, and seamless transitions without gates. We're talking about layouts where servers are dedicated to entire planets and moons, others focus solely on landing zones or other key locations. Now, this is going to be really interesting. Some of us will remember when the first Xeno threat came out, they actually had to drop the server limit on players because it couldn't handle all the NPCs and the big ships and us at 100 players a server. We've now seen that dynamically the servers can go up to about 120, but we're again hitting a limit because of the amount of entities that were streamed in, or the salvaging stuff and the mining rocks and all that stuff that the server was trying to keep track of. Now they're going to be able to see how many servers it takes to run these systems at what they want in terms of entity counts as well as player counts. Obviously, this is going to be a while before it comes to the persistent universe itself, but loads of tests that we can expect, and hopefully we'll be able to get our hands on those pretty soon. Then there's this. They start talking about Star Citizen 1.0 and what that means. Now, before anyone succumbs to any clickbait titles anywhere else, there are no dates, unsurprisingly. But they do say this. Star Citizen 1.0 is what we consider the features and content set to represent commercial release. In other words, the point at which they'd start selling it if this was a traditional released game. This means that the game is welcoming new players, stable and polished with enough gameplay and content to engage players continuously. In other words, it will no longer be alpha or early access. Okay. They then say, we spent significant time looking at what Star Citizen 1.0 means and what it would take to get there. They go on to say that the Persistent Universe team have been looking at the sorts of things they need to hit in order to get Star Citizen 1.0 to release. So later this year, we're going to get a, drum roll please, you guessed it, a roadmap to release. I'm sure I can see the headlines now. Another roadmap promised in Star Citizen's Roadmap Citizen. But that's going to give us not just some vague idea of timescales, it's also going to give us an idea of what they think the content will be when this game is considered a commercial release. Now, of course, they're going to continue on development, but I'm sure there'll be lots of happiness and also lots of frustration at what is and isn't going to make the cut for Star Citizen 1.0. Now, whatever happens, rest assured that I'll be covering it, so if you're enjoying the coverage so far, feel free to hit subscribe and stick with me for the journey. There's something I've got to talk about in this, and it's less tangible than just what they say. It's how they're starting to say it, and it looks to be now more than ever focused on the completion of not just Squadron 42 Episode 1, but Star Citizen itself. And it's little comments like this. Chris says, I feel incredibly blessed by all of your support, and I'm determined to finish strong. In a marathon, they say the last mile is the hardest. Star Citizen 1.0 twinkles on the horizon. So whether the concern I have, what worries me about that just a little bit, is the idea that things are feeling rushed. They've promised all this stuff, and I'm really excited that it's coming, and you'll see in previous videos, I'm more optimistic now than ever I was about what precisely is going to come. So I don't know if this is just because they know that they've overcome the major tech hurdles, so now they can really speed up with the game development, and all that work they've had of putting planet tech and building blocks and all those sorts of systems in is really going to speed things up, or whether they're rushing a little. And I think I'm not going to shake that feeling until we start to see a lot more progress. But I would be really interested in what you think on that topic. Is this rushing? Is this because things are going to go quickly? Or is this potentially just more broken promises and pie in the sky thinking that we, let's face it, have seen from CIG in the past? Let me know in the comments. Just keep it respectful and remember, debate the point. don't attack the person making it. And if you've made it this far, let's talk a little bit about that upgrade that I was talking about. This is the interesting bit. He says, I'm looking forward to getting your hands on Star Citizen Alpha 3.23 soon. As a lead up to Invictus, we have prepared a series of missions to earn your UEE Civilian Defense Force stripes and potentially earn an, in brackets, incredibly powerful and unprecedented in-game upgrade if you complete all of them, so that you are ready to face Xeno threats in a more personal manner. I don't know what that means. The in a more personal manner sounds interesting, but the other thing is potentially earn if you complete all of them. It's not saying that it's guaranteed. So maybe it's RNG, maybe it's another competition that they do. Maybe it's how well you do completing those missions. There's no more detail than that, but it's very, very well worth keeping an eye on it, and rest assured, the minute I see the details released, I'll be back here with another video. I know videos from me are like buses at the minute. You wait for ages and then two come along at once, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to see this with you guys and offer my thoughts as well as invite your comments. You can always pop into Discord if I'm ever in there in a channel that you can access. It's because I'm happy for you to come and have a chat. We can have a talk about Star Citizen, play some community games, whatever you guys fancy. That's the whole reason I'm here. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. See you soon.